Welcome everyone to the Film Vault. That is Anderson. I'm Brian Bishop, your host for today. Back to Flickfessions. Going to talk about, hold on, why is that there? Beast, which by the way will also influence our top 5 later in the week, top 5 animal attacks. It almost happened, Anderson. It's bound to happen sooner or later.
What's that?
We almost repeated a topic without realizing we're repeating the topic.
You know what's interesting, though, is I had a feeling we had done it, and I kind of leave that up to you because you're like, well, let me check my notes. And we did it, and you give me like the exact date. And I can
He does
tell,
love his notes.
He loves his notes, and I can tell he's sniffing.
That's all I got.
He's sniffing when he tells me that he's tracked down exactly when we did that top 5. However, I took a look at my list, and guess what? No crossover. Because we approached it a little differently back then when we did it. We were just going for straight-up animal attacks. We weren't influenced or inspired by a movie such as Beast.
That's funny you mentioned that because guess what we Flickfest that week?
Roar.
The Revenant.
I was going to say Revenant.
We're Flickfest the Rev.
Unfortunate. And in doing that, I just gave away 2 of my picks for this week. I have great regret. Everything that just happened.
I am immediately filled with regret.
That sucks. Anyways, all right, well, let's get to it. Big show. Like Brian mentioned, he's been gone, and he's back. He comes back. Did anyone mistake you for a local over there in Hawaii? Has that ever happened?
No, I'm howly as shit. Are you kidding me? I'm the whitest person on the island.
I was going to ask Avery if anyone thought he was local when you were over there. Anyone think you're a local when you're over there?
I don't look nearly as racially ambiguous as I do
tattoos.
here.
One of the proudest moments in my life, filled with pride, lots of pride over here. Not to the point of Proud Boys or anything. But
I was going to say, hopefully not the white pride.
You're a boy who was proud.
I was over there. I'd been over there for a couple weeks, very tan, right? And I was feeling the islands, Brian. And old white folks come up to me and they say, "Excuse me, sir, son, you're local, aren't you? Do you know where?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm feeling this place. I don't want to leave. God, I love Hawaii."
I'm going to tell you a story that I'm counting down internally the time until you say, "I am bored." But
it's already happened in my head.
In Hawaii.
As soon as I heard, let me tell you a story. Like right around there, I was fucking bored. I got to tell you.
In Hawaii, the name Bishop is very prominent.
Yeah, from colonization. Right?
No. There was a Charles Bishop who was actually sailing from New York. Wait, it was New York all the way
I'm legitimately
fucking
bored
around
now.
the Sierra del Fuego
This
to
is
go
riveting. What are
to
you
like
talking?
Canada or someplace remote, and he just stopped for provisions. He liked Hawaii so much he decided to stay. He married a princess, much to the dismay of her native father.
Is this a Disney film you watched on the way back?
No, there's
that
a
you're
real
confusing, conflating
This is fan fiction. He's right.
You can Avery, Google Charles Bishop Hawaii, will you please?
Must you?
Because he was very instrumental in founding a number of schools on the island. He was a very
Sounds like colonization to me.
No, he's a very respected haole.
So he took the Hawaiian natives and he said, "Sit down on these hard wooden chairs that we've created. Let us
Actually,
tell you about Jesus in English."
His wife was Bernice. Her request, her behest. She's like, "You've made all this money. You've started plantations. Now we must educate my people."
You know the history of plantations, don't you, brother?
Yeah, they plant things and they harvest them.
Who harvests them, brother?
All over the world. The owner usually.
All right, we're gonna get to some new movies. I don't know if you mentioned what we're gonna be flickfesting here, Brian.
I mentioned
Beast. That's right. Beast will be flickfest by the 2 of us. I reviewed.
RRR will not be Flickfest,
no,
even though you teased it.
No, yeah. Let me tease it further.
Oh.
All right, and we'll do that, I guess, later. We'll give a little mini heads up for those of you who might not know what we're talking about.
What'd you find out about Charles Bishop? My Uncle Charles.
Jesus.
I miss my Uncle
He was
Charles.
a man, and he died in San Francisco. That's
He
what I
did die
found
in
out.
San Francisco.
All right. We'll be talking about RRR briefly because we're going to give it its full flickfession next week. Here's my goal. I will have Avery so excited to watch it that he will watch it by this time next week, despite the fact that it's 3 hours and 7 minutes long.
It is an epic.
But it's available on Netflix. Hopefully we'll give you a soft sell on it to be able to watch it so you can listen along while we flickfest it next week. God, I wish my son was older and just old enough to be able to see this thing.
Watch it.
The wife would be so mad.
I know.
God,
What
I want to
does
show him.
What does that stop you before?
I want to show him that middle scene really badly. And also,
Which one's the middle? The flogging?
No, the animals.
Oh, yeah.
The animals. Holy fuck. God, I love this movie. Can't wait to talk about it next week. It's so good. We should also mention...
Please do some listener art, somebody with me as like a Hawaiian chieftain.
We should also mention that we are we got cams on us. Yeah, we're cam girls.
So
this
if you
week.
wanted to see Anderson's reaction to RRR,
well, that'll happen next week. But yeah, we're recording. Which
I'm saying just now you're.
Oh, I did get excited.
Say,
Didn't
I
I?
love
Your
this movie,
passion.
yeah.
See, what I'm doing is I'm gonna have my notes up so I can't see because then I'll get self-conscious. But hopefully you forget the cameras are there, right? I forget when I got my notes up here. But Avery cannot be seen.
No.
So are these automatic cutting ones you were talking about?
No, we could do that, but I don't know if I trust the OBS with that.
And I feel like I
perhaps.
might mess it up where I'm not on a camera.
Yeah.
And I might go, I don't know what to do.
And then it'll just start flipping back
Yeah.
and forth, and I'll look half bald.
Yeah.
And I don't
That's
want
right.
that.
You don't want that.
So, Brian, fix your hair because we got the cameras rolling. And we're going to hopefully start doing this because it was like an extra 3 minutes of setup maybe once I actually knew what I was doing. It was actually 20 minutes today.
20 minutes
but,
of research on YouTube.
yeah. But moving forward, we're
Well,
going
that
to
was
be
without
populating-
Brian's expert assistance.
yeah, Brian.
Hey, unless you got to let them, it's a sink or swim situation, Avery. You'll understand when you have kids.
When you what?
When you have kids.
Oh, I think
You gotta
that's
put 'em
Speaking
out
of
there.
which, positive reception to the kids show. There's a
Yeah.
lot
Oh,
of,
yeah.
a lot of buzz on Instagram.
I
didn't see that,
A
but
lot
I
of
saw Patreon.
tempered positive reaction, as in, I don't want this more than once a year, but I enjoyed it
Yes.
for what it was.
I enjoyed it so much, I went out and got a girl pregnant, so next year my child.
Oh,
Nice.
Mazel tov.
I don't like that we can't see Avery. So this is something we're gonna have to fix moving forward.
No, don't do that.
Well, let's just let people see Avery.
No.
Can you?
There he is. There he is. All right. Yeah. Look at Brian all upset about Avery
I'm
being
very
included.
proprietary over who.
There can only be one bald
cameras.
man.
That's right.
Oh, is that what it is?
Look
The
how
bald
tan
thing?
I am,
All right, and then we will also be talking about a very unique movie in the assigned by Andrew Potts, the listener assigner movie in the history of the Seattle Mariners, a 3 hour and 40-minute supercut epic history of said
Now-
ball team that is available on YouTube, and it's up for debate whether or not this is a real movie.
There was a lot of, we'll give you guys a little peek behind the curtain, a lot of internal discussion amongst the Film Vault crew. Like, are we really going to do this?
Oh,
because you have said in the past when promoting this idea that people can assign us movies, if you're a Patreon member at a certain level, you're like, you can assign us anything. And you pause and go, within reason, I'm not going to watch your fucking home movies.
Right.
And this is the one that really was like the litmus test.
It
Like,
pushed-
are we watching this?
Yeah. And
And you said, fuck it, let's do it.
more on that later. We'll talk about that when we actually talk about it. So so that's what I'll be flickfesting. Brian, what do you got? Did I say bodies?
You did not.
All right, I'll also be flickfesting bodies. Why am I telling everyone what they already know? It's in the goddamn title.
That's true.
Because it feels good.
Feels.
Feels. Where are you, Feels? Do we owe Feels anything? I know
I
they
think
owe
we were
us
trying
something.
to get in the groove of once a week, weren't we? Wasn't the
Yeah,
plan?
yeah, okay. Haven't heard from Feels. in a
Cut
while.
all this out.
I'd like to hear from Feels.
All right. Bri.
Hey.
What's your third movie?
I should just start off with this one. This would be, ironically enough, a good plane movie, but I did watch this at home right before I left. It had been on my radar for a number of, probably a few years at this point. I finally got around to renting and watching. Have you ever heard of Dying to Do Letterman? Dying to
God,
Do
this
Letterman.
is such a Brian movie.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a documentary directed by, I'm going to mispronounce these, Joke Finsayon
Sounds right to me.
and Biagio Messina. They're a husband and wife team, starring Steve Maison. He is also the credited writer and narrator of the film. He is also the subject.
Right.
He has been diagnosed with cancer. He is a stand-up comedian, and he is his goal in life, his bucket list item is to go on the David Letterman show. This is a number of years ago, 2011 film, and perform a 5-10 minute set, whatever they give to comedians those days. Also featuring Ray Romano, Kevin Nealon, Jim Gaffigan, Brian Regan, and Robert Schimmel, the late Robert Schimmel, I should point out, who was also a cancer survivor. 85 minutes, a brisk 85 minutes. I rented this. It's got a very homemade feel to it, but there's something very charming about that. Like he was vulnerable. If I have a criticism, and I don't like to criticize, these little movies, these homemade,
Right.
the little guy.
Passion projects.
Yeah, exactly. I would have liked him to be a little more vulnerable. I wanted a little more of what he was facing down and the mortality and blah, blah, blah. And it was more about the Letterman angle, which is fun, which is, that's a life affirming life goal that he's trying to.
Well, yeah. Plus, it's like it's right there with the storytelling, right? Like you start with a character, and hopefully the audience likes the character. That character wants something, and let's see if that character can get that thing. And that's like the story arc.
Yeah,
right?
that is.
And you wanted more like, "Woe is me, I have cancer."
Less of that, more just a little more humanity. Like he was working on material, and he was. Doggedly. So there's a part where it's the entire second act of the film where he's got a hold of the Letterman talent booker, his email address. And at one point he has like a GoFundMe and he's talking about wanting to get on Letterman, and he puts out the producer's emails, and they're flooded the next day with emails from fans and supporters and whatever, and they basically were like, "Thank you very much. We appreciate this. We don't do like Make-A-Wish type stuff."
Yeah, I was thinking this sounds like a Make-A-Wish.
But Steve Maison points out,
wish that he was a child so he could just make it a quick, easy.
Well, he points out they're like, just we can't do these requests. Steve points out that I am a stand-up comedian. I have been doing this for 10 or 12 years. I'm just asking maybe you put my name at the front of the list because my time could be limited for this.
So he thinks that he's gonna get there eventually, anyways, but he doesn't have
the
time.
It was always a dream, and now it's like an urgent dream.
This sounds from Mills.
How so?
Something you would do.
Oh,
you'd parlay it.
Not that I. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to play the cancer card.
Yeah. Like you're like, hey, I always thought that I had the chops to make a Letterman. They just haven't recognized my genius yet. I should say, hey guys, I might die over here. Maybe you put me. I'm gonna get on. Let's be honest. But put me up towards the front of the list because my time is short.
I would never go that angle because I do not consider myself a stand-up comedian, and even the stand-up I did wasn't that good. But if it was something,
come on, buddy.
But if it was like,
but for a podcast,
yeah, exactly. If I knew someone over like iTunes or something, like, hey, I put the film faults up there.
News and noteworthy because I won't be.
I won't be around much longer, so drag it up there.
I won't be new much longer.
No, you wouldn't do that.
Of course I would.
No, you'd be like, hey, iTunes, I'm thinking about starting a movie podcast.
Oh, yeah.
For Mo.
It's called Bollywood.
Would you listen to iTunes?
Would you listen? Can you give me news and noteworthy?
It's not bad.
Motherfucker. I was in traffic with my wife just last week.
Oh,
and I replayed that. While you were in Hawaii, and I replayed that entire thing for my poor wife, who was very familiar with that entire scenario.
Please tell me she came to bat for me.
No, she did not. But I still can't believe it happened. And I was like,
well, it hasn't happened yet.
You know what ended up happening with that conversation? And I'm being cagey about the whole thing because I don't want to relive the whole thing. But
what happened?
Goes back to Brian, swinging and missing and not even trying. He called 3 strike out, right? Really, essentially. He was teed up on the Corolla show to plug our little show over here, and he failed to do so miserably. And instead just said that he was thinking about doing his own movie podcast for sure, when some listener was like, hey, I'm telling the whole fucking thing.
By the way,
some guy calls up.
We forgot to do Flickfessions. We're all over the place.
Dude, we're out of practice. Dude calls up and he says, hey, Brian.
I don't remember his name.
My name's Mo, and I think you're a real swell guy talking about movies. Have you ever thought about branching out and doing your own film podcast? And instead of Brian saying, hey, you know what?
Like
you know what? Funny you should say that. Actually, I got a podcast called The Film Vault. Been doing it for a good 6-7 years now.
That was before The Film Vault.
No, it was long after. We had a legacy of 6-7 years. And then you say, you know what? Instead of saying that, you said, you know what, Mo? I've been thinking about starting a movie podcast.
I've been thinking about it.
Would you listen, Mo? Oh, God. So I'm reliving all this with Jillian in traffic, right?
Did Mo ever answer?
I think he said, oh, absolutely. Like I said, I think you're a terrific fella.
I feel good about this.
And I forget where the conversation went, but I do remember it ended with Jillian defending Corolla. Talking about how nice he has been to me. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's been great to me. He's been very supportive. And she goes, so stop talking shit. I'm like, I'm not talking shit about Corolla. I'm talking shit about a psychic over there. It's still shocking to me. Fucking shocking.
So I Flickfest to film before our listeners. I feel gauche. You almost drowned in your coffee.
I'm sorry. I didn't think I would be telling that story here today.
Save your repeated stories for the actors.
It gave birth, though, to cinematics, which is a grand thing. So I get to do a podcast with a film critic on a regular basis, and it's great. I've learned so much over there at the cinematics. So here we go.
It's all thanks to Mo.
Thank you, Mo.
Yeah, thanks, Mo.
We should call them Mo's Cinematics because it does not.
Cinemotics.
Cinemotics.
All right.
Just a special episode.
What have the listeners seen in the last week and a half in the fan fliction portion of the show?
The fan fliction compiled by the Mitch Burns. Bruce Perky, Eric Holmes, and I want people to watch Glorious on Shudder. That's his point number 1. Number 2, I'm sure Anderson knows, but Leon Vitali died.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, the first episode of House of the Dragon is pretty intense and bodes well, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Number
Mitch
4.
is just using this as his own fucking sounding board. Mitch, you know what? There's a guy named Mo who might listen to your shit if you start your own podcast.
That's true.
And maybe Gio because he's incredibly thorough. Number 4, 2 weeks of fanflictions, bear with me. And number 5, I like lists. Juan Magdaleno on Facebook. See, you setting you up for it. Orphan First Kill, 3 out of 5. I am a fan of the first Orphan movie, so I gave it a little more leeway than others might give it. I was a little worried about this prequel. Roughly 13 years later, had missed its boat. In a way, it did. The script felt rushed with the character building. It takes a quick turn with a number of questionable events after that led me to questioning most of the character's authenticity,
Put Avery on
for
camera.
lack of a better word. The best part of the performance was by Julia Stiles and Isabel
Don't
Furman.
touch my camera.
They were really good, but not enough to carry the story due to its pacing. With that said, it's still worth a watch. And if you've seen the first, but they didn't reinvent the prequel here, and you're not going to learn a whole lot about Esther.
Son of a verite.
Distant Terry on Twitter. Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Oh, watch it, yes. Watch it,
On
yes.
Criterion Channel. Best movie musical of the last 20 years.
Well, what's better than it before? You going way back? Are you talking cabaret here? What are we doing? Different kind of movie.
Sound of Music. Adam Kaplan on Facebook. Day Shift. It was hot garbage. Absolute trash.
So I've heard.
I didn't pay anything extra to watch it, but I still want my money back. Eric Charbonneau? We'll go with Charbonneau.
Charbonneau?
Charbonneau?
There was a baseball player named Joe Charbonneau.
On Facebook, watched 13 Lives. It does the job it needed to do. It did add some lame drama to a story that needed no additional drama. Then again, if it hadn't, I would have just been an unneeded dramatization of Nat Geo's The Rescue. Solid performances from Mortensen and Farrell.
Yeah, they did. The Rescue was like, I don't want to say percentage, but it was a percentage of it were really well done reenactments.
Yeah.
So why do like a polished entire reenactment of that?
Cheesy version of it.
Yeah.
I hope they just included where Elon calls him a pedophile, though. I do hope they... You don't remember that?
No.
Elon Musk called like the main diver a pedophile because he was spending this time rescuing these children.
Elon was gonna like build a submarine, a mini sub to go underneath, or some breathing apparatus or something. The guy's like, "Thanks, but no thanks. Time is of the essence."
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
Yeah, and Elon's basically called him a pedophile.
It was like, "Thanks, pedophile," and everyone was like, "What the fuck?"
I mean, it sounds like something I would have said 10 years ago. But
yeah, drunk on the after disaster.
I get so mad at Elon, and it's with good cause.
Go Brox on Reddit. Bodies, bodies, bodies. I think this deserves the classic Anderson Cowan. I'd like this movie more if it was better.
That's right.
Rachel Sano is great, and this was the most I've ever liked Pete Davidson. It had some good jokes, but some lines felt more like the idea of something funny rather than fully formed jokes. Also, without spoiling anything, the ending did not work for me. Overall, I think it's still a 3-star movie, but it's frustrating because I could easily envision a version of this movie that's 4 stars or better. And lastly, from the Bitchmarns, I scrounged for fanfiction of Beast because I'm assuming that's where the top 5 idea came from, and Hexam 311 came through. Beast was a fun B movie if you go in expecting to see Idris Elba fight a lion. At 90 minutes, it gets in and out pretty quick. The dialogue is pretty bad, but I was not expecting much.
Thank you. And we will work on the frames next week, so I don't have to do this, as Brian
Come
put
on
it,
over.
Cinema Verite,
Come on over.
where I'm actually doing handheld.
Can we do that?
Yeah, could you do that? Would you do that, Bri? We should both just wear them on our head.
Hi, everyone.
What'd you do? Why are you doing that?
Look out the window.
Don't. And you close the thing, and now you can't get it back on the thing.
This can't be
I asked you
hard.
to do one tiny thing, and you fucked it all up.
I was doing a bit.
It was a good bit. I like how you're cut out now. I can see one eye. Other way. Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, do it.
All right, cool. There we go. All right. Let's just
Put a
launch,
level on that bitch.
Let's launch right into Beast.
Beast.
Beast. Beast.
Beast is a 2022 film directed by Baltazar Komakor, starring Idris Elba, Ileana Haley, Leah Sava Jeffries, and Charlton Copley, and a lion as the titular beast.
Oh, so Charlton played the lion.
No, he's actually a
Double duty.
game game preserver. What is he?
Preservationist.
He's an old-looking Jake Gyllenhaal,
preservationist?
is what he is. Did you notice that? He looks so much like Jake Gyllenhaal.
I didn't notice that at the time.
My God, he looks like I never seen that before in Charlton, but I was watching it and I kept thinking, like, this is what Jake Gyllenhaal is going to look like in about 20, 30 years.
Is Charlton older than Jake?
I think by a lot, or just, maybe it's not the years,
Hard
it's the
limit.
mileage. You know what I'm saying?
This clocks in at a brisk 93 minutes, 66% of Rotten Tomatoes. This is in theaters now, and whoever it was, Avery, I'm sorry, I missed the name, who said
Something X, Malcolm X.
I think it was Hexam 311.
There you
Oh,
go.
I'm
If
way
you go,
off.
basically,
I got the
yes. If you go in to this wanting and expecting to see Idris Elba versus a lion, you're in luck, because that's what the movie is.
Yeah, Jillian was upset because she didn't want me leaving to go see Beast. It was just last night. Yeah, and she goes, "No, you don't have to go see that." I'm like, "What do you mean? I got to watch it for because she likes to half-ass things and she gets away with it because she's so chick is smart. I don't like it."
She kind of figured out what was going on in the movie.
Yeah, so she's like, "Yeah, just say it was okay," and the lion didn't win. And I'm like, that I can't. I mean, I could, but I'm not. But you're probably right. Actually, of course you're right. What am I talking
So
about?
it is okay, and the lion didn't win.
All right, so
3 stars, and that's all you.
here's what I want.
It off
It's
with.
a perfect 3-star movie.
It kind of is, right? I want to talk about what I really liked about Beast, and
That'll be quick.
that is, so okay. First of all, Idris Elba. I miss him. I don't see him nearly enough.
I miss Charlton Copley.
His agent should be fired into space. What the? how do you
Into space.
I don't know.
Here's the thing.
You fuck up having Idris Elba.
I get like String a Bell, right, with The Wire, and then I get like no Idris, and then I got Luther, which I don't watch, and then like
good.
What else? Like he played the voice in one of the voices
No, he
in
was- well, he was in-
Zootopia,
He was in Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim, but
Beast of No Nation.
Beast.
And he was in a
Nation.
shitty Dark Tower movie that they fucked
No one
up.
watched that, including me.
He was
They
in
totally
a very
fucked up.
small role in Prometheus.
All right.
Oh
Look
yeah,
at
he
Brian.
just banged Charlize Theron,
He
and that was
wanted
kind of
to.
his role. No, they
he?
did.
Did they?
Like right before. Oh,
I don't remember that.
I'm not going to Brian the movie.
And then
Make it better.
we get out of the fucking blue, we get Beast, and then next week we get him again as a genie.
That's right.
And then both are from early reports, middling films.
Oh, he was the lawyer in Molly's Game.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that wasn't him.
That wasn't him.
You racist motherfucker. No,
I'm sure it was, with a very strange accent.
okay, yeah. So he's British, which is so bizarre to hear because he's my String a Bell. You know what I mean? It's weird hearing him with that thick British accent. Anyways, he's great in it.
I like
The daughters,
Charlton.
one of the daughters was okay.
Did you hear the story about that
Oh,
casting?
wow.
Yeah, his own daughter went up for a casting, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't really buy the chemistry."
So that's
Idris made her audition.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to give you the part. You got to audition, and then she was just didn't talk to him for weeks. I guess.
Oh, I didn't know they didn't talk to him
Yeah.
for
well,
weeks.
no, she didn't
didn't.
talk to
Oh,
him.
she didn't talk to
'Cause
him.
she
That
was
makes
so
more
pissed
sense.
that he didn't
I
just
thought he was so
give her the
disappointed.
role.
I'm like, I got to rethink this love in
That's-
Idris.
So your wife will appreciate this. I inadvertently called the plot on the Corolla show because it's fairly obvious when Gina was doing this story about Idris Elba and his daughter and didn't get the part, chemistry, and I go, well, and they're all laughing and we're all laughing. And I go, well, maybe they have a good relationship, and I have no doubt that he has a strained relationship with his daughters in the movie. It didn't come across. And that's exactly what happened. In the movie, he has a strained relationship with at least one of his daughters.
Right. Oh, so you're saying that
I'm
the
saying in
relationship
real
was
life,
too good.
yes,
That's a nice spin on it.
that's what I.
I
That's
don't
what
think
said.
it's
I
true.
verbalized.
I would imagine she's just not that great a performer. I mean, if I had to bet, maybe she's great. I don't know. What the fuck do I know? I wasn't in the room. I wasn't in the room.
Throwing shade.
I'm just saying, if I had to, play the odds. So Idris is great. The girls are okay. Charlton is fine. I could take him or leave him.
Did he need to be there?
Yeah, well,
In the movie?
Yeah.
I mean, that character was necessary. I don't know if it had to be Charlton. Am I saying it right? Charlton?
Yeah.
It's such it tweaks the ear. It tweaks the ear. It doesn't sound right. Here's the best part of the movie, though. Oh, Idris is the best part. The lion looks fucking great. But the Steadicam work is phenomenal. And it's not often that I notice Steadicam
You're
being
digging
really,
deep.
I am, but some of the framing was really, really good. And the Steadicam, like there was a lot of wonders that you don't even notice. And
There were a
sometimes
lot of wonders that I did notice.
because
they are throughout.
they weren't drawing attention to themselves, though.
Really?
No, they weren't like showing off. They
One
weren't
of
like
the few notes that I have for the movie.
like
is-
when they first come into the house. Like so, they're visiting where in Africa. Where was it? What part of Africa?
in the brush. I don't think they said.
I don't know if they said.
I'm
either.
looking at Avery.
And then they
Is that racist, Avery?
what's that?
I'd be
Let's
looking for you
assume
for
that I know
questions
part of
about
Africa.
He's
yeah.
asking me a question. You're asking a question about a fucking movie, and he's our producer on a movie podcast. It's not a.
Just answer the question.
Why you gotta lean? Why?
Yes.
Why you gotta lean?
There you go. We're done.
Was it a part of Africa? What was the question? I'm so mad.
Keep going.
All right, so when they're going to the house for the first time, right? Seeing Charlotte's house, they get off the plane and they have the long car ride, and like there's a wonder taking them all the way from the Jeep up into the house and through the house into the picture. But they weren't like going, "Hey, look at this wonder! Look at all these crazy things happening," which is really impressive sometimes when that does happen. But that's not what was happening here. It just kind of brought you into the family, into that.
Okay.
It made me feel like I was going to check out an Airbnb for the first time. Like it was effective.
It's interesting because I was very aware of it as it was happening. But then again, you and I are a little more attuned to that because we've done top 5 one take or long takes or whatever.
And we watch movies a little bit differently, I think, than just the average. I would imagine like my mom would watch this, maybe even Jillian, and she wouldn't even notice. I'd be like, "Hey, honey, that's a wonder." She'd be like, "What are you talking about? Quiet."
What'd you call him?
Brian. Why are you
It
laughing?
takes place in South Africa.
Is it South Africa?
I don't think that's true.
It's
All right,
That's
so
what it says.
we could
That's why
do
they
a
got Charlotte.
spoiler. We could do a spoiler on this, but
You just happen to be there.
well, he's South African.
It's true.
this is directed by a man who he's serviceable. I mean, he made Two Guns, which was it was Everest. Kind of just tells the story, but doesn't really go out of its way to become anything phenomenal.
It's a perfect 3-star movie and not a bad waste of 93 minutes.
No. I mean,
And by the way, if you love jump scares, you're in luck.
this is not falling in that category that pisses me off, which is like, oh, it was so good. If it was just, did this a little bit better or that a little bit better, I would have fucking loved this movie.
They milked everything they could have out of this.
It was just like, it was what it was. And, some of the attack scenes might have been in the running for this week's top 5.
There were some attack scenes.
And I saw it in the old AMC Prime over there. And when one of the leaping towards the window and the smashing, like I felt it in my bones. I liked that.
I saw him Prime too, and it was quite an experience.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
It seems like, just based on the poster, prime Netflix territory. It really seems like there should be a Netflix.
You're right. But at the same time, I think that we really got the scope of it was beautiful backdrop and getting that lion on the big screen and seeing him actually, attack. I think that it worked.
You're getting
on the big screen.
a lot of great Africa, shots.
I've never seen out of Africa. Should I have shame about that? I don't need to see Robert Redford falling in love in Africa, do I?
Too many windows open now.
All right. Are we moving on?
We should.
You should watch Hatari instead.
Atari.
Hatari. Piece of shit that was. I think they may have actually killed a rhino in that. Thanks, John Wayne.
What? These motherfuckers.
So that's Beast.
All right. Yeah, Beast.
Should we throw something? You have Bodies and you have the Mariners.
Last thing with the old Beast over there is unless he was paying homage to B movies of the past. By the way, this was like almost its own genre, like in the late set.
Ultimately, it's Jaws on the land.
They're like late 70s, early 80s. Jaws just gave birth to this whole subgenre almost of like real life animals that could kill you. And in my research for this top 5 this week, I came across a number of movies that I'd forgotten all about since I saw chunks of them as a child on like HBO. And this falls right in there. Now, if what's his fuck Balthazar, the director. Balthazar was actually paying homage with really ridiculous paint by numbers and telegraphing how things are going to go. Like we all knew where it was going to end up.
Oh, you knew?
And it's just like, there's not even any interest in like how it gets there. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, we know where the actual last scene is going to take place.
You would have a hard time guessing wrong on this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, all right, tell me what doesn't happen next.
And my question there is like, why... Unless it's just the most plausible explanation, but it's not, right? The lion, crispy lion showing up is not plausible, but the movie tells you that's going to happen because it would be shocking if it didn't.
Right.
Are there enough people in the audience? Is the majority of the audience, the majority of the public who would go see a movie like this, are they surprised? or is it not fooling them either? So
There's guys either getting up at their seat like must be done.
yeah,
Must be
like
over.
they made it. And you know the dumb part of my brain.
71-minute movie, I guess.
The dumb part of me, and I don't know if this app. God, I hate that Avery's not on camera. The dumbest part of my brain, and I don't know if you do this, Brad or Avery, but like when I'm watching these movies, like it'll be like the first scene, and I'm like, I hope he gets away, and like I want it to happen.
Yes, the movie opens with evil. They're just known as evil poachers. Like,
Yeah.
that's how they're credited, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they're just out there to capture and kill.
Well, this is a bad example because I wanted them to die.
Right. Okay. But exactly, it would be, and of course, as a show of much like the way Jurassic Park opens, you're showing how dangerous this creature is without really showing it. The hunters, bad things happen to them quite quickly, and yes, it would be as though you're like, wow, I wonder what's gonna happen. No, they're gonna meet a bloody, grisly end quite quickly.
But what I'm talking about is like in movies where like the plot needs to move forward because of conflict or bad things happening to. I'm still like part of my brain is like, please just get through there so that like I guess so the movie could end like 10 minutes in.
Please have everything work out.
I really want to make a zero conflict movie, or I want someone to make a zero conflict movie.
I think we talked about that. The reverse
did a few
thriller,
weeks-
where you
few weeks ago.
constantly think something bad is going to happen,
But
and then
it
it
never
doesn't.
does.
And it keeps escalating. And then at the end, something actually does, and it just totally fucks the audience and ends.
Oh yeah, just jars them.
Yeah.
Heart attacks.
It's like an irreversible.
That's what this movie. I'm glad you brought up the escalation because that's what this movie was missing. Like I was rewriting it and hoping to see things that I didn't. Like
It was rote. It was.
I was hoping that they would have had a little more fun with the other lion, Pride, and like maybe like darted one of those guys by mistake because they thought it was him, and then that gets torn apart, and it's like, what the fuck? It's the wrong lion, you know. And they could have had. There was way more.
There weren't a lot. Of
There was a
twists.
lot of room for there to be more mounting, because they had all the elements, and they worked with it a little bit. But you're just like thinking like
mounting lion.
mounting the elements with the mountain lions. Yeah. Okay. No. All right. Let's move on.
Enjoyable.
Take your mom to it. Or if she scares easily, that'd be fun.
A lot of jump scares. A lot of cheap jump scares.
Yeah, but it only got me once.
Oh, really?
And that was with like the paws on the fucking, which I saw on the trailer. I knew it was coming, but still, like rattled my bones. All right. You know what I mean? All right. Bodies is a film
I heard it's good.
directed by, is this her first movie? Helena Rain. She's primarily an actress. She's been in a number of things, including Valkyrie and Red Light, Black Book, Instinct. And she has directed exactly one movie called Instinct. That is a feature film that she directed a couple years ago, which I did not see. And Bodies is her latest effort. And it is starring, hold on, wait for it. I don't like doing this part. And Brian can't help me with this because
Okay, I got
Brian,
nothing for you.
fuckhead that he is, didn't see this movie.
What
It's
do you mean?
Amandala Stenberg, Maria Bakalova.
I thought this was all one name for a minute. I was like, wow.
Rachel Sennott. Some recognizable faces, obviously, and then of course you got the old Pete Davidson, who's probably the most recognizable face here. We do know, what's her name? All right, from Shiva Baby. Remember Shiva Baby?
Is that
Brian?
Bakalova? No, that's
Shiva Baby. Christ, I'm terrible. This is not why I see movies. I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna go see it because but she's recognizable face. Rachel Sennott. So she plays a very different character in
Shiva
this.
Baby.
For those of you who have seen Shiva Baby, which is very good. We really enjoyed that Shiva Baby. Here she plays kind of like a vapid zoomer. Okay, so the story. It opens up kind of annoying because I know they're trying to like shock you because it's
that word shocks you.
and I don't care if it's two attractive young ladies making out. I don't care if it's two young men making out, two old men making out, or just a couple heterosexual middle-aged people, moderately attractive making out. I don't need to hear the smacking and the lips and the close-up on the tongues fornicating, essentially. That's how the movie opens. And it's like, okay, what are you, a big kids fan over there? What are you? Wait, that's going to set the tone? So they're on their way. It's this couple, lesbian couple, if you didn't pick up on that. And they're on their way to a hurricane party, which is, I guess, something that people do. There's a hurricane on the way.
Oh, fun.
And one of
They're
their...
going to drink all the water in town.
I should say that there's like 7 or 8 characters. They're all impossibly rich Zoomers. Okay, so they're despicable and easily despisable because A, they're Zoomers.
Oh, nice.
Got
Wait, sorry, define Zoomer.
Got them. No, what's that?
Define Zoomer for me.
It's younger than millennials.
Gen Z.
Oh, is that true?
Oh, you didn't know, but
I heard like Zoomer
are you
boomers.
so
who,
old?
like,
You don't.
no, like they did Zoom and they're boomers, but I didn't know.
Has nothing to do with the Zoom. Yeah, Gen Z is they're calling them Zoomers because they're on with the
Didn't know that.
boomers is right there. And dude,
This is news to me. What? Yeah. I don't pay
Bo
attention.
Burnham, like in his you didn't listen to that album incessantly. Like he's got a line where he's talking about how he feels bad for giving the boomers so much shit because now he's getting it from the Zoomers. It's good shit.
I didn't catch that.
Anyway, so they're all very, very rich, and they're all hanging out in this this house. It's a hurricane party, like I said, and there's an older guy there who's representing Gen X, I guess,
Might be a millennial at this point.
he may be millennial, but I think have you seen this?
I haven't. But millennials can be in their 40s, so.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. My wife's a millennial. All right. So, so they're all hanging out. Pete Davidson's there, and then they decide to play this game called Bodies, which is based on a real life game, I guess, that people play, which I've never heard of, called Body, which is where you creep around in the dark, and there's like a half a dozen people are in the dark, and one person knows. Have you ever played Mafia?
Yeah, like where one person's the killer. And
Yeah, it's like Mafia, but not with cards, where it's actually creeping around, and then you tap someone, and if you tap them, they're dead, and then you got to figure out who it is, and the lights come on, and you vote. It's very much like Mafia.
Fun.
So that's what the movie is based on, this Bodies, and then lo and behold, somebody actually does get killed. Early on in the movie, and then it's kind of like a whodunit, and it's them running around, and there's a lot of attacks on the type of sensibilities that rich, out-of-touch Zoomer kids might have. They don't fare well in this movie. However, they didn't fare poor enough for me to really be entertained and enjoy it. Like I felt that way when watching Murder Party, Jeremy Saulnier's very first movie. Like he really attacked that young alt hipster disaffected rich art kid scene, right? And felt like there was some punches pulled here. This is like Very Bad Things, but not nearly as good. If you remember Very Bad Things, it's kind of the same tone, the same types of themes kind of going through, where things just spiral and spiral and spiral. All in all, it's a 3-star movie. There's 30 minutes of good stuff in here, and like the end where you figure out and it's revealed what actually happened. It was funny, but it should have been really funny, and it wasn't the writing. There was something about the reveal that just didn't have the oomph that it needed. And it was a good concept, and I appreciated the actual revelation of how everything began. Should have been much funnier than it was, and I can't quite put my finger on it, like what it was missing. I have to watch it again to really say like, oh, it was missing this or it was missing that. But
so is this caught in the universe where you can't quite stream it?
Yeah, it's $20 rental right now. So.
I'll not be watching.
I would not recommend that. A $20 rental for it, but yeah, it's part
For
of it.
30 minutes of goodness.
There's 30 minutes peppered throughout of goodness.
It's almost $1 a minute.
But yeah, this is a very a 3-star movie where I'm not sure I'm going to really remember a whole lot about it a year from now, other than maybe that ending, which didn't quite execute for me.
I felt the same way about Beast. How much of this am I going to remember?
Yeah. Well, you'll remember the lion. You'll remember Charlton for you, probably, for sure.
He was the best part.
Mm-hmm. I saw you trying to weave that joke in there. I just wasn't giving it to you. I'm still not. I do get Andy's. Hey, if this makes up for our love of Andy Serkis in Black Panther, I get Charlton and Andy Serkis mixed up all the time.
Racist.
Yeah, see?
Wow.
Yeah.
Works both ways.
They're both African, right? No. Andy's British. British as can be.
I actually have no idea what nationality
I think he's a Brit.
It's probably New Zealand, right? Because he fucking hooked up with
I don't know if you
with Peter Jackson.
UK.
I'm wrong.
Wait, see, he was so Jack Black's from New Zealand? Interesting. He hooked up with Peter Jackson.
No, for the Lord of the Rings,
King Kong.
everyone in that goddamn movie was Australian or New
Yeah, but
Zealand.
he's like the only dude that does like the little golf balls on his face really well.
Obviously, there were many, many non-New Zealanders in that film.
Oh, I'm excited to talk later this week about some of the stuff that I learned about some of the animal attacks. There's some good shit out there. My God.
And I just thought of my number one.
What's that? What, your number one what?
You're not going to be here
animal
next
attacks.
week.
He's going to be here later tonight when we record it.
Oh, sure.
Oh, Brian.
No, you're right. Come here next week.
Bye-bye. All right, what are we doing?
I'm on Hawaii time.
What are we doing?
We were assigned a film.
Yes.
I,
Thank God I got to talk to Andrew Potts, who assigned us this movie.
There
I
was
almost
a,
missed him, and I talked to him earlier today.
there was a implied
Hours ago.
Hours ago? I
Mere
talked to him?
hours ago,
Yeah, mere
right?
hours ago, yeah. Very recently. The 11th hour, I finally got a hold of him.
There was an implied question mark after film because I don't know that we would call this film.
Yeah. I mean, well, okay. Andrew pointed out to me that this did. Why don't you set it up and then I'll.
The history of the Seattle Mariners. I'm laughing because Christy is in the room and I watched this on the plane and she looks at it. She just looks at me and says, "Is this whole thing just charts?"
Charts?
Charts.
Oh, okay.
Is this whole thing just charts?
Yeah, you know, we want to hear a secret? I was terrified that my wife was going to walk in and see me watching this. Because she already thinks that I do silly things with my life. And she gets mad at me sometimes, especially when the bills need to be paid. And if she saw me watching this and if
This
she had
is
any
the ultimate
idea
in frivolity.
how long it
The ultimate in
was,
folly.
it would have turned into like an actual argument.
Christy, I'm talking about the chart movie.
I'm a research nerd. I appreciated it.
Okay.
She's a research nerd, she says, and she appreciates it.
Directed by John Boyce and Alex Rubenstein. This clocks in at 90 or 9.1 on IMDb.
It's like 97 people. No, that's it. Only 97 people
Wow.
weighed in, so let's not give it too
It's
much credence.
just like you to shit on someone's IMDb
I'm just,
score.
it is for the better, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, people that like it, they like it a lot.
I watched this on YouTube. It clocks in at 3 hours and 40 minutes.
3 hours and 40 minutes. Now, this is a benchmark. We're not going above this. We're not. I think that we should shave off like a full hour for our limit moving forward.
Oh, really? You think any movie under 3 hours or 240?
Yeah, if it's good. RRR, buddy. 3 hours and 7
That's
minutes. Life changing.
Worth it.
Life changing.
Worth it.
My God. RRR. We got to give a soft push to a RRR. We still got to try and sway this guy.
Let's talk about it right now.
Want to do that, and then we'll launch back.
No.
Brian had 2 3-hour-plus movies to
That's true.
to watch.
You had more than an entire flight to Hawaii.
The majority of my airtime, literally up in the air, was dominated by the Mariners
Charts
and RR.
and Bollywood. You know what bugs me about Bollywood? I say Bollywood 9 times out of 10 by
Oh,
mistake.
mistakenly.
Yes.
It's seeping in. It's
Look.
cultural saturation.
Here's a fun little thing that'll take you right off that pedestal. I've never once heard one moment of Bollywood. Never heard any of it. Not even a little.
Hey, I'm
Nothing.
going to make you play Bollywood as our intro music next time.
My music. Anyone's ears.
That's why it's funny.
You talking about a movie by yourself? It's just.
Yeah, the star of the show. It's a 1-minute show.
All right. Now, let's talk about how we approach the history
You're not
of the
going to
Mariners.
a juggler and say, "Oh, you're tossing those balls up and catch them yourself." No, it's impressive for one person to do it.
You ever see 2 people juggle? That's pretty impressive, too.
I don't think I have.
Oh, yeah, they
Oh yeah, they're tossing flaming
back and
bowling balls
forth,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Bowling
Introducing
pins.
it. All right, so the history of the Seattle Mariners. I saw the. I've been going back and forth with Andrew because I am the liaison between the listener and the show because Brian can't be bothered. He as you heard of the pedestal comments over there.
That's true.
And I love talking
I'm
to
waiting for the
listeners.
insult.
And I was going back and forth with Andrew about this months ago. He gave me a heads up when he became an assigner for $25 a month for 6 months. It allows you to assign us any movie within reason. And he let me know that this movie might not be within reason.
Movie.
And
This might be unreasonable.
I took a look at the runtime, and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, you know what? I like to broaden the horizons. I like to stretch the wings. I like to see what's out there, see
Sure.
what the kids are watching, right?
Break
See
free
what they're
of
calling.
your constraints.
Yes. So I said, you know what? We'll do it, Andrew. And he's like, here's the best part, Anderson. You don't have to watch it all in one sitting. You can break it up because
it actually is in 6 parts.
it is a 6-part YouTube series that somebody put together as a supercut with over 2 million views as that supercut alone. So people are watching this thing. People are reacting to this thing. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do it. Now, I sat down to watch the first 15 minutes of it. And I even mentioned it last week, a couple weeks ago. And the way I watch a movie, Brian, is I sit there,
Okay, story checks out.
phone
so
in
far.
hand. I try to have nothing around me. I can't watch a movie with a kid in the room unless he's watching with me.
No.
And I focus. And I take notes along the way. I have thoughts. I rewind things. I stop. I study movies if I watch them at my house. This thing was so thick on stats, like you mentioned, and just CGI animation and lacking in actual archival footage
Yes, there was
And
there was
pictures?
a dearth
of what
of archival footage. I could have used a lot more.
could have used more. that I'm sitting there watching it like 10 minutes, and I'm like, I don't think I can fucking do this. I don't think so I
You Google, does this get better?
Andrew and I were communicating via.
A social worker showed up at his house.
My wife is a social.
That's right.
Andrew and I were corresponding via Patreon messaging, which is not the most effective way to talk to me. So it wasn't via email, which was unfortunate because when I sent him the note last week saying, Andrew, I'm sorry, buddy, but I just don't think I can do this. I was literally watching the movie, and I couldn't hear what was being said because I was so bored with what I was looking at.
Gross. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So then I was thinking about the movie a little bit more, and I sent it to you, and I'm like, hey Brian, give it 10 minutes and let me know what you think, and I'll leave it up to you. And you never you were dragging your feet on it. You weren't watching it.
Well, I was planning on watching it on the plane, so I wasn't going to watch it until the next.
Yeah, and I didn't have time to make. So then I'm like, you know what? I got a lot of work to do on my garage. I got a big TV out in the garage, right? It's on the wall. Maybe. You see where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I could just do stuff in the garage, like physical work.
How movies are supposed to be watched.
While watching this thing over my shoulder. And every time there's something that comes up and you know what? It worked. I actually was able to listen to this thing as though it was a podcast and look up when they did have the archival footage. It was like an expanded podcast almost.
It does play like a podcast, obviously, with many infographics.
Yes,
as you would call them. I'm here to tell you, I found this oddly satisfying.
I thought you might.
Oddly satisfying.
I thought you might.
Now, with a huge caveat before I say run to YouTube and watch 3 hours and 40 minutes of the fucking
You can't
Seattle
watch it.
Mariners.
You gotta. But you
I
did on
did.
the plane, right?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
I
but
was
you're
engrossed.
locked in. You probably had a Kona.
That's probably I 100% did actually.
There you go.
And so
What's a Kona?
Just the Hawaiian beer.
Oh, the Hawaiian beer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Konas. Yeah,
The
you got the 4
longboard
different
lager.
kinds. Yeah. I'm like the big wave guy.
Oh, really? Golden Wave's good. It's all right.
All right.
Fine. With a huge,
fine?
It's fine. Huge caveat that I do love baseball. It's my first favorite sport. I collected all sorts of baseball cards. I was a stat nerd, not to the point that I was like calculating my own stats, but I memorized all the cards from 88 to 92. Like that was my sweet spot. And this covers a lot of that era, went into the 90s and beyond. So I found it weirdly satisfying. Whereas, I got to explore the career of Ken Griffey Jr. a little more, and Randy Johnson and Ichiro, and guys I found interesting. And I got to see, wow, just how amazing these guys were. I don't know that will be everyone's experience.
No. This is my wife's hell. Jillian, this is her like living hell. If she had to sit down and watch it, she hates baseball.
And it's for
she hates
baseball.
being bored.
It's for people who have frame of reference. They don't take, like this is produced by Dorktown / SB Nation. Like they are talking to baseball fans. Like they're not slowing down to explain things.
It's not like a Moneyball where you don't have to care about baseball.
Far from
No,
it.
they don't give a fuck about the.
It's the anti-Moneyball. It's all the stuff in Moneyball that cut out. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? All the stuff in the book that they probably cut out for the movie.
Yeah, this was like kind of hearing a book on tape with an accompaniment of some visuals.
That said,
to extent.
I must admit I enjoyed it a little bit.
It is what it is, and it couldn't be this with. If it was a 90-minute movie, there's so much they'd have to leave out, and there was a lot of really interesting stuff in there. So I think the way that I watched it for me or for you on a plane, kind of perfect. A captive audience because you're stuck on a plane, or if you have something else to do in the room. And
It's an effective way to pass the time.
there's no way I could have sat down and just watched this. I just don't have the brain for that. Like it was like being. That's why I'm such a
my
bad
God, I
student.
can't imagine watching on my couch.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
There's
So
too much
you get
going
that.
on
Too much going on.
in the world. You know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
not enough going on the screen. Yeah, I was like I felt like a dog in a park, and I was supposed to be looking at my trainer or my owner, but I couldn't because there were squirrels. You know what I mean? And there literally were squirrels outside my garage that I got to look
Yeah,
at, and
got
then
to
kind
chase
of.
after.
So if I'm going to critique the movie, which I am going to do right now, you can call it a movie. As Andrew pointed out, they actually played the entire supercut in its entirety at a movie theater in Seattle.
Oh,
Go
really?
figure. And, if you're a Seattle Mariner fan, you have not seen this thing yet, you're probably really going to enjoy it. Like if they had one on my favorite team, the Penguins, which is also Andrew's favorite hockey team.
That's a really good point. If this is about USC football, I'd find it goddamn
You
fascinating.
might watch it a couple times.
I might.
If you're a fan of the Atlanta Falcons, these two Dorktowners, they made one of the Atlanta Falcons,
really?
almost the exact same fashion, also very long. They did this over COVID. They obviously had too much time on their hands. One of them...
I got to imagine they are or were attracted to these tortured fan bases. Seattle Mariners, the Atlanta Falcons. Their history isn't littered with success.
Yeah, well, John, the main director of this, one of the two voices you hear, he's an actual diehard Seattle Mariner fan. The other guy's just a statistician, and I guess they're both sports writers. But I could not stand the one guy's voice. Unfortunately, his dramatic reading of his own material really rubbed me the wrong way.
It's rough around the edges.
Yeah, he's about a third of the voice. You hear the other guy far more often, which I wasn't. It was what it was. But the one guy, every time he started talking, I'm like, God, my inner bully just wants to punch him. And I don't have a very loud inner bully, but he came out. I was like Flash Thompson over there with this guy's voice.
Wow.
I needed a punch. But that said, the other critique I have is the fact that they think that Seattle Mariners are completely unique in every single thing that they've ever done, and no other team has ever gone through ups and downs. And they don't really have a lot of ups, but
yeah.
I heard this a lot. Like, I don't know if any other team has ever gone through this, but I have to imagine that they never have. And this is the only time it's ever happened in all 4 major league sports.
Aren't you statisticians? Don't you have the fucking numbers?
There are plenty of
guess?
opportunities, where they could have, they very conveniently ignored an entire era of what was likely steroid use amongst the Seattle Mariners. Like, some guys just came and got better at age 30. It's like, they were juiced.
Well, they kind of did spend some time talking about how
They talk about Griffey. There's no evidence.
Well, there's no way to tell if he did or not. They say only Griffey knows. You know what? Andrew Potts, who signed us this fine film,
is
told
he
me
a
today.
Mariners fan? Why did he sign?
Yeah, he's from Seattle.
I got to know why he signed.
He's a Mariners fan. He's from Seattle.
Okay.
He pointed out that they've only been in the playoffs in their entire 45-year history.
Since 77, yeah.
They've only been in the playoffs 4 times.
It's pretty brutal.
That's pretty brutal. And he pointed out this fun stat. 5 ruptured testicles on the team in that 45 years.
More ruptured testicles than playoff
rings.
appearances.
Than playoff appearances.
Wow.
Yeah, no rings. No rings. Which is something else I wasn't sure about because I tapped out of baseball, the MLB mid-90s. So I wasn't sure if the Mariners had ever gotten to the glory.
They almost made it I think it was last year or 2020 that they almost made it to the playoffs. They missed it by a game.
Oh, really?
And it looks like they're
they're out by half a game, Andrew was telling me.
Yeah, and they're on track to make it this year.
Back and forth. But there
we'll
was some
see.
really high drama in this. The middle section where they were supposed to leave town, and then it was kind of hanging in the balance, and there was votes, and they were actually getting into the playoffs and doing better than they'd ever done, and it was swaying the public's opinion. That could be a movie unto itself. That was really, really good. And it's a great garage movie.
They effectively told a story through statistics, basically.
I got a shit ton done while watching this 3 hour and 40.
I got nothing done.
Yeah. Well, you got a plane.
I got here.
Ride. Yeah, you got here. So that's that. All right. The history of the Seattle Mariners. They also did one that it's 42 minutes, and this fascinates me. Andrew was telling me this today. In 1977, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
That's who it was, right?
I don't know.
Indianapolis Colts back then? It was, though, right?
No, they were the Baltimore Colts.
Baltimore Colts back then, of course, yes. Fucking brain.
What about them?
They were in a
AFC
playoff
championship?
game,
Oh, okay.
and a plane crashed in the stadium,
I don't remember that.
and the Steelers were beating the Colts so hard that
Is it called the
section
game?
was pretty much empty
Oh,
by the
wow.
time the plane crashed. And
I-
they did a 42-minute documentary in the same style that they did this one, and that's on the old YouTube as well. So I'm
wow.
very
See,
interested.
that sounds compelling.
How did I? And my dad for sure watched that game because he was a diehard Steeler fan. He
And
watched.
he never mentioned it.
He never brought it up to me, at least not that I remember.
It seems like something you would mention every time you watched after you had seen
I
it.
know. I mean, there is that movie Black
That
Sunday.
was a crazy game. Almost the craziest game I've ever seen.
I mean, all he talked about is immaculate reception and how much he hated the Raiders and the Cowboys. I mean, he mostly talked about things he hated with me more than anything.
What a shocker. Shocker.
Hey, it's a genetic thing, all
What a
right?
miserable existence.
He loved hating, though. He really. Quick story about my dad. And this is sad. A sad
Okay.
commentary on me, but while we're talking sports, one of the greatest moments of my entire life was hearing that the Pittsburgh Penguins won the rights to Sidney Crosby.
Sure.
Right.
I actually remember you excited about that.
It was 2005. I was up at camp. It
I
was
think it was
during.
the Loveline era Well, I mean, when I was at London.
Perhaps 2005.
Yeah.
I was at camp when it happened. It was during the pre-camp, so it was before the kids got there. We have 2 days of training up at camp. So I remember walking back to my car from some horrible training session across the meadow, and I'm like, they probably, because they had a lottery, and like all 30 teams had a shot at getting this phenom who like came out of the fucking. So anyways, I sit in my car for a minute, turn on KNX, and barely got the reception, and I sat there for 10 minutes waiting to hear the news. It was 2005.
Sure.
And I'll never forget. I remember hearing like, and the Pittsburgh Penguins have won the Sidney Crosby sweepstakes, and I was like, I remember running to the dining hall where there was a payphone to call my dad.
Oh, wow.
To let my
Knocking
dad know.
cancer kids out of the way.
No, it was before the kids were there. It was like,
Mom, I don't have much time left. I don't know.
I'm feeling,
kids just flying. Sidney Crosby!
I'm feeling pretty nauseous. Get out of the way.
Sit the kid.
The sad thing is, I didn't even know that much about Sidney Crosby because I put all my eggs into that Alexander Ovechkin, who he was the big phenom that was going to be the first overall, and the Penguins were the worst fucking team in the league, and they had the best shot of getting him.
Sure.
Because it's a weighted.
Yeah, I understand.
It's a weighted lottery.
NBA,
It's
they
not-
give
yeah.
you a certain number of ping pong balls.
So I was reading about Ovechkin for like 6 months. Like I knew everything about this fucking kid out of Russia. Like I was obsessed with him. And then when the fucking Capitals got him, I was infuriated. And then I'm like, it's not. The Penguins don't have a shot at getting this guy. Long story short, they get him. I run to the payphone, call my dad up, and my dad's at the office. And I'm like, hey, Dad, I just want to let you know the Penguins got Crosby. And he's like, they did? And I said, yeah, Dad. And he goes, fuck Ovechkin. Fuck the Capitals. Fuck them. I'm like, no, Dad.
Be happy for
Be happy
you.
for us. And he just immediately turned it into fury and rage against a team and like gloating rage.
Schadenfreude.
I'll never forget that. I'll never forget my dad turning like a really happy moment into just rage towards. I miss that man so much.
Hey, mister, can I talk to my mom again?
Because I just pushed him out of the way. And that's not. It was before the kids were there, guys. I'll never forget. It was during training. All right, so let's get the fuck.
Wasn't there a number 1 draft pick by the Penguins the year before? It was a goalie who was supposed to be really, really
Fleury?
good. Is that who it was?
Marc-Andre Fleury,
I just remember
yeah.
you
He's still
going.
playing.
You were so excited about the Penguins getting a back-to-back top draft picks.
It was pretty great, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they got Fleury, then they got the number 2 overall, which because they were supposed to get Ovechkin, but they got number 2, which was Malkin Gino, baby. And then they got Crosby, and then they got Stahl, and then it was kind of shit after that. Yeah. All right, whatever. Sometimes it's weird if you love a franchise so much. Sometimes when they're really bad, like it's just as exciting to be like, well, what are they going to get as compensation?
Totally.
Like, and you just become obsessed with the drafts, and that's what I was doing at that time. Yeah. You still watch the games, you watch them get pummeled, but it's more about like what's on the
It's
horizon.
a garage watch.
Section 1, short documentary, 2022. The Pittsburgh Steelers of the 1970s won 4 Super Bowls and fielded some of the greatest teams ever assembled. However, the most important game they ever played was not a Super Bowl, but a 1976 playoff game matchup against the Baltimore Colts, though they couldn't possibly have known it in the moment. Lives were on the line.
Whoa. Drama.
Section 1. I'm going to be watching this. Section 1.
I'm compelled.
I got more work to do in my garage.
I got a garage to clean.
Garage looks great, by the way.
Can't wait to see it. Oh, speaking of which, this is a good time to tease.
Oh my
our
God,
watch
we're
song.
bad at this.
I'm good at this.
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm good at reminding you.
You tease.
No, it's going to be your house. You got to talk about it. I'm looking out the window.
All right. So, hey, this Thursday, if you are part of the live movie watch along that we've been doing, $10 Patreon level. Which, by the way, if you're still having trouble accessing some of the stuff that you guys were able to access,
Fucking figure it out.
let me know. I sent another email to Patreon. They say they're going to figure it out, but I'll come up with a workaround soon enough. Let me know if you're looking for a particular episode. I'll make sure that that's available to you. But at the $10 level and $10 and up, you get access to a link that allows you to watch a movie along with us once a month. And this week, Thursday, the 25th, we will be watching it at my house.
The same garage TV that you watched
Nope.
Mariners
We're
on?
going to be watching it in the living room for
Oh.
internet connection and because it's not sweltering hot in my living room. And we're going to be watching 5:30 is when the feed begins. We'll do a little half hour. Atticus is very excited. He wants to be involved there. I told him he can bring me a whiskey during the screening, perhaps.
It's a good training for
I'm
you.
trying. And
Daddy, what's happening in the tanning bed?
then we're going to be watching Final Destination 3.
It's way too hot in there.
And it begins at 6 o'clock if all goes off as planned. And it's going to be a fun watch along, a fun party as it's been in the past. And if you would like to be a part of this, it's not too late. you may go over to the old Patreon and sign up for the $10 level.
Daddy, why did those two ladies catch fire?
And I think what I'm going to do is just make it a
Is it
separate
'cause
level.
the sun was too hot?
I think it's just going to be $5 for that as its own like a la carte.
Really?
Because they're fucking with me. They're giving me the business with the Patreon. Anything new we do is available to them, but the archive is not available to the people that are signed up for the $10 level. It's
That's
fucking ridiculous.
bullshit.
It's so absurd, Patreon. Come on.
What gives?
Get your shit together, Patreon. They're like, oh, yeah, we switched it, and now there's no way to bulk change a certain tier. You can't
like
do
that.
that any
Oh,
longer.
well, that's fucking dumb.
It's
Maybe
really
change
dumb.
that.
We can't be the only ones having this massive issue.
What if
So
we're the
people
only
that sign up for the $10, not all of them, but some of them go from $5 a month, and then they sign up for the $10 a month to try and support the program better. And they go back to their feed, and like half the shit's gone.
It's all gone.
They get less
Getting punished.
punished.
being
Anderson will mail it
patrons.
to you.
No, I go in.
Physically.
Man, I spent 45 minutes this morning. God, if my wife found out I was doing this shit, she'd be so bad. Manually just switching it so that I got to go into each fucking thing and then go to like select a tier, and then I click on the live movie watch and enable it. And I did that for all the spoilers. All the spoilers that we've done, all 50 of them are available. All right.
All right.
I've said too much.
You've said a lot. All right. Thanks, you guys, for downloading and listening. Check out Sons of August. They're our featured artist this week over at AndersonandBryan.com. Thank you, Andrew Potts, for signing us the surprisingly satisfying history of the Seattle Mariners. The rest of you don't get any fucking ideas.
Yeah, we're going to take a week off from the listener assignment just because we're a little bit stacked up because you were gone a week.
What am I going to do?
Next, we're going to be watching Tim Mazurek. Tim Mazurek? He signed us Dave Made a Maze, which we'll get to in a couple weeks.
Okay, but not this week.
No. But Dave Made a Maze is up next thanks to Tim Mazurek. I'll find out when I talk to him.
All right.
And then I'll fuck it up again probably because I'm terrible at the phonetics.
AndersonandBryan.com is the website where the Amazon banner resides. You can tap that, do your shopping, and it costs you nothing. Helps the show. Thank you. Anderson and Bryan is the Instagram, The Film Vaults on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you to all of our Patreon listeners / supporters. Giovanni, thank you. Jordan Wolf, Mitch Burns, and Mike Cole, thank all you guys. Check out Addie's Antiques. How's that going?
It's going good. We go hunting every Friday for sure. Sometimes Thursdays and Fridays. And the wife's got an eye. It's bizarre.
What about the one with the blue nails?
I have not seen Jenny. No, I have not seen the witch, the blue-toed witch.
Blue Toad, that's right.
I hate her so much.
I heard about Jenny.
I fucked up a couple times, overpaid for things. It's an adventure every time I go out. Yeah.
Learning experience. Avery, any dates coming up?
I ain't got shit.
All right, well done.
You got to ask them.
You
Just
gotta
don't be scared. Just like go up to them in a bar and say,
You're not a bad-looking guy. All
had
right,
my
Invade the
moments.
Decade is Avery's podcast. Check that out. And until next time.
I was actually acting. I was going to. What are I missing?
Yeah, you were like committing to the character.
Because I put the camera on and then I was self-aware of it. Jesus Christ! We do it for Van Gogh.